Welcome to a watercolor tutorial, and today we're going to be painting this ornament. This was a lot of fun to paint. We focused a lot on layering and shadowing and also a little bit of wet on wet technique here to get a nice highlight, and then also making sure that we are drying completely so we don't get smudges with our work. So this is a lot of fun to create. Make sure to send me some pictures. I'd love to see what you create. Let's get started. Let's go over our supplies. So right here I have my 2 water cups. I have one for warm, one for cool water. I have here my dryer. I got this on Amazon, and I'm able to dry my layers very quickly. I have my tapping cloth where I tap excess water on here handy. I also have my Winsor Newton watercolor palette. You'll see all of these colors that I use inside your ebook that's emailed to you. I have right here my bleed proof white. This is my Dr. Martens. I use it all the time. It's a very pigmented white. It's awesome. These are the brushes that I use all the time. I love this particular brush because the bristles are very soft and I can get a very nice pointed tip so I can get lots of detail. So the size I use a lot is size 8, 12, and 4, and this is a silver black velvet brush. I also recommend having masking tape. Any painter's tape from the dollar store works perfectly fine. I like to paint my paintings down. I like when it leaves a border, and it's really nice if you have an extra cardboard sheet handy that you can move your projects around and not be tied down to your desk. You'll also see I'm a messy painter, so this has definitely helped contain some of the mess on my desk. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do for this one is I'm actually going to grab my masking fluid, and I'm going to be applying masking fluid around just some of my ornament. So I'm going to grab an old brush, and I'm going to come around and try my best to just follow the leaves that have been drawn out. It's not the end of the world if you don't get everything. But this will definitely speed up the process and also just help us get a nice ornament look and shape. And give your brush a good clean when you are done. And then we're just gonna let this dry a couple minutes before we touch that. But what we can do is we can come in and we can paint our bow. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do this bow just like that. You'll see how I've left the center. I'm gonna get rid of everything on my brush, and I'm gonna blend this out to get a nice highlight. I'm then gonna come right back in and I'm gonna pick up a more pigmented red and just touch it around the bottom, just like that. I'm also gonna come around here with my red. And I can scoop if I want to highlight. And I can also come in while it's wet and just add more depth if I want to add a little bit more burgundy, a little bit of darkness. I can mix in a little bit black, red, and purple. That makes a really pretty burgundy color as well. And I can attach some shadows just like that. So right here, it kind of starts to curve. So I'm going to try my best to leave a nice highlight right here, so it gives that illusion that it is curving. So you'll see I've stopped, and I am just going to be blending out that harsh line with just water. I can come in with some more pigmented red while everything's still wet. I can even add some depth to the middle. bring in some depth to my little center right here. And then for my bow, I can come in and kind of repeat what we just did. I want to leave that top part right here nice and highlighted. So I'm going to leave the middle open just like that. I'm going to come on in and fill in the rest. There we go. I got a nice shadow, sorry, highlight going now. Okay, this bow's got lots of like curves and all different types of details in it as well. So that's why I'm kind of taking my time here and not painting absolutely everything in one section. And I also usually don't paint my bows in one section. I like how it looks. Okay, so just keep adding lots of layers. I think I just had a bit of a glitch there again. With my recording. So just keep adding more layers, paying attention to where your creases are. So I have just finished my second layer where I'm going in, and wherever I see that my bow has curved, I've gone in with a little bit of darkness. I'm still blending out my highlighted areas and then just adding some depth and darkness to it. So now my masking fluid is dry, so I can come in here and dry this. And right here, I'm actually going to add a little bit of a ribbon as well. So I'm just going to freehand this part. And I'm going to have it just fade to nothing. Just like that. But then I have to add just a little bit of depth to it like that. Okay. I'm going to use my Sparkle Shimmering Lights. If you don't have this, you can just mix up a gold color if you like. But I like the sparkle. So I'm going to use this palette. Sometimes I feel like the gold though is just a little bit too bright, so I like to just mix in a bunch of colors. And I'm going to fill in this little area nice and gold and sparkly. Just like that. And when it dries, it leaves a nice sparkle. Okay, so for my ornament, what we're going to do is we are going to apply water first everywhere. And this will help us not have crazy streaks and lines, and just buys us more time to get our colors down. So we're going to be doing the wet on wet technique, where you have a wet surface right now, which is my water, and then I'm adding another wet surface, which is about to be my red. All right, so I'm going to come in really quickly and start mixing up some of the colors that I want. So I already just have them ready and mixed. I'm going to mix that burgundy color that I liked. I'm going to mix up a real nice burgundy deep red. All right, so I'm going to start with my red color going around, and you'll see my masking fluid now just acts as a repellent. You'll also see here my water and paint are kind of exploding everywhere and expanding. And I'm going to be leaving a bit of white space in my middle. I'm not going to be covering all of it. I want it to look like the light is hitting my bulb. Okay, so the inner part, I want it to be lighter. So you'll see there, I just got rid of all the paint on my brush, and I'm just kind of scooping up the colors. So now I can come in with a more pigmented red, and I can just blot around the outer part. If you're finding that their blend's not doing great, you can kind of with a damp brush and help it out. And I'm slowly, as I'm getting to the outer part, I'm going to eventually start to get darker and into like a more deeper color. Until eventually the outer part is going to be dark. I'm going to use some purple here to shadow. I'm going to come in with a darker black and get the outside really nice and good. Coming in with a more vibrant red. Okay, so I'm gonna dry this. And if you really want your colors to pop, you can come in with another layer. Do you see this? How now it's just so much more bright and vibrant. The red just stands out so crazy. It's because the page isn't wet. So the only problem with this now is I have a harsh line. And to get rid of harsh lines, you have to use water and scoop up your color. So as I'm getting towards my middle, I'm going to get rid of everything on my brush, and I'm just going to start kind of dragging around this color as I'm getting closer to my middle. I'm going to start getting rid of everything again on my brush because I realize now I just have too much paint, and I'm going to keep tapping my napkin anytime I pick up paint until I have a really nice blend just like that in my middle. I'm going to dry this. Okay, so the trick here with the masking fluid, if you just use a dryer, do not try to peel it off until it's cooled down a little bit. And you also want to make sure that everything has completely dried. You don't want to take this off because you'll smudge or rip your page. So I'm just going to let this do its thing, and then I'll come back to it when it's dry. Okay, now we can come in and remove our masking fluid. Okay, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to do my silver part right up here first. So I'm going to use the Shimmering Light pack again. I'm actually going to bring in a little bit of brown from my Winsor Newton palette into this, just because I find that this Shimmering Light's just a little bit too yellow. And I'm actually just going to cover all of it, and then I'll come in and add a bit of depth. And I'm going to scoop up different spots and areas just like that as well. Okay, so I already have a sap green and a hooker's green already mixed up here in my palette. I can come in and add a little bit of brown and black to it if I want to make it a little bit darker. But I'm now going to come in and I'm going to fill in my holly. Just like this. I'm going to start hopping around because I don't want everything to just appear to be one. So again, I'm jumping around, I'm giving everything time to dry, Get some depth to it. If I really wanted to, I can come in with some darker tones while it's still wet, and I can shadow different points. Now there are little berries, so when you're going, be careful not to just color in your berries. And if you do, it's really not the end of the world, but the berries do give it a nice effect at the end. If I have some red for my masking fluid, I'm just kind of moving it around and touching different points to kind of scoop. Like right in here, I want to get rid of some of that red and have more green to it. I'm actually going to bring and freehand some of these loose hollies down here to make it a little bit more symmetrical. These are just some like really loose shapes. I'm gonna add more sap green and hookers green coming along and filling out some greens. Again, using the very tips of my brush. And what I just did right here, I'm going to do over here. It's just like little loose flicks. I'm going to add a little bit of depth to this while it's still wet. Okay, still filling in my holly. So you'll see the more I kind of paint, the less kind of confusing it looks, and it starts to look a lot more full. And this will start to really transform when I start adding more leaves and second layers to the leaves and all that fun stuff. And again, if you want to, feel free to freehand some leaves if you're feeling like it's just looking a little sparse in some areas. Like over here, I'll add a nice leaf. And I'm going to add one more just down here. Okay, and then I'm going to fill in some red berries. Again, making sure I'm leaving some white space to shine through. And I've penciled and sketched in where some of the berries could be, but get creative, put in your own berries wherever you see fit. I'm not necessarily just sticking to where I sketched. I'm moving around, just kind of adding random ones. And then when those are dry, we can come in, tap around. I can even like mix that into like a burgundy color as well, and tap around different points to add depth to these berries. And these will definitely start to pop if you let them dry, and add a second layer as well. So for my little hollies, we can come in and add second layers. So we can come in, touch around different spots, and this will really make your piece look really good. And we can even, when this is dry, come in and do some veins on our leaves. Mixing up different shades of green, not just sticking to the same ones. I'm just touching around different spots. Now this is very loose watercolor. You'll see I'm moving very quickly. I'm not necessarily worrying too much about trying to make this super realistic at all. It's really loose watercolors. Having fun with it. And this would technically be my third layer now. I'm going in with an even darker color. And every layer that you go in with, you want to make sure that you're letting your first and your second layer shine through. Otherwise, you're just kind of leaving and missing the point of the depth here. You'll just end up just making it brighter versus, and more deep and rich versus, you know, layering and making it more okay. So coming in here now with a brownish, reddish, burgundish color, I'm going to add a little bit of details to this part. So following my ink marks, I'm coming down. I'm going to make some diamond shapes. I'm going to dry it. I'm going to add a little bit more depth using an even thinner pressure. And I'm going to come in and kind of clean up my lines a little bit. I'm going to come in and make these pointed. Then I can blend that out. There we go. I like that. The only thing is I want to kind of shadow in here more, because technically this should be hidden. So I'm going in and kind of just shadowing this a little bit more. I'm going to add, I'm going to add a little bit of gray to my gold. can add that much more depth. I'm going to come in here as well and shadow. Okay, so coming in here, I'm going to add just a little bit more depth to some of the ones that are supposed to kind of look under with a blackish greenish color. Now we're nearing the end. We do want to kind of pay attention to where we want things to go. And then we can come in when we think we're done and we can add just little veins. And again, this will make your painting look more realistic as well by adding little veins to your leaves. Okay, there we have a cute little ornament and bow. I hope you had fun messing around with the wet on wet technique, the wet on dry technique, and then just messing around with different shades of green. Happy painting, friends.